bring the energy, he'll do the rest. Martinez Company, powered by Sports Radio 102.9 The Game.
You're going to hear it right here.
The show starts now.
It feels good to see the world getting loose. Feels good to see the world getting loose. I don't know about you, Sack Noel. I don't know about you, Phenom. I don't know about you, White Shadow. I don't know about you, but I feel good.
Yes, indeed. I don't know about you, but I know I feel damn good. Once again, it is Monday morning here on the Coastal Sports Network and Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Brought to you by Broadtree South, the company that started all here on the network. And I do appreciate everyone who tunes in from around our great nation and from around the world as we get more and more folks that tune in from France, from Russia, from Yugoslavia, you name it, even though it's not a country anymore, but they're part of Russia as well. But from Italy out to Germany and everywhere in between, I do appreciate everyone who tunes in as always. I am beyond grateful, and especially for the folks who visit sr1029thegame.com. You guys can always go there and visit the website and download the app directly from the website, and or you can take your phone if you're watching in the office. Goodness gracious, scan the QR code. There you go. And then you guys can be able to download the app that way as well. And it's easy. All you got to do is just take it, download it. And if you try to find it on the Apple and or the Android store, you will see the old app there. That's why I put the new app on, which directly mirrors the website itself. So you guys can always follow the show. So if you're on the road or you're at home and you're getting ready to go to the gym, you can watch the video live, jump in the car, hit the radio player, listen into your car on the CarPlay or Android Play. And then once you get to the gym or wherever else that you are, wherever else you may be going as well, you can go ahead and turn around and put it back on the video element. Don't forget, you can always make your comments on the social medias on Facebook, Tampa Joe's Facebook page. And thank you to those folks. It's always my good one, always putting out a great time out there, as I'm pretty sure the Eagles fans last night probably went absolutely ballistic for those who went to the game because it was nationally televised. But we thank you all for patronizing Tampa Joe's at 9316 Anderson Road in beautiful Tampa, Florida. A hop, skip, and a jump over from the airport. Always amazing food, outstanding people, and the drinks are always fresh. Never that stuff where you see on Bar Rescue. It has nothing like that at Tampa Joe's. Always a great time. And also over on Twitter, Rumble, Kicks, LinkedIn, just everywhere in between. Don't forget, you can also call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. And I'm pretty sure I'll be hearing from Gas Pump Guy here shortly as the Bucs took care of business. And you guys saw, right, going bananas were the Bucs, and especially the quarterback there. And I just drew a Baker Mayfield. Goodness gracious, I was talking about a brain fart. As he was doing one of these numbers out there and just going bananas. 30-7 win. The Bucs look good now at this point, are still in the hunt for winning that division. New Orleans with their new interim coach right now, 2-0 with their new interim coach. It doesn't mean that they're going away. Then, of course, you have Atlanta also in the mix as well. Atlanta is in. And who knows? I mean, the division is pretty much for anyone at this point in time, but I think it's still, as we had mentioned earlier during the season, was for the Bucs to lose. So to me, the NFC South should and still can go through the Tampa Bay Buccaneers nonetheless. But also the Eagles, what a tremendous win last night out there in LA. And for those who travel with Philly sports trips, wow, I'm pretty sure it was an amazing weekend. I know John Dorenbos, a couple other folks were there. You guys can always check out their content always on Facebook page on Philly Sports Trips. You can always visit phillysportstrips.com. Therefore, you guys can see the next upcoming trips for the Eagles. But man, what a weekend. And I'm trying not to obviously get too high up on the Eagles because I've seen this story before. As I mentioned to Pete, the big thing is that I always talk about is that this time last year, is where we saw the Eagles were on this amazing high, and then the rug was pulled out from under them, and then everything went into the basement. I'm hoping that will not be the case coming up here for the Eagles, as they are doing extremely well, and we hope to continue to go in that direction. But with me on the line already is Gas Pump Guy with the weekly Bucs report. GPG, first of all, good morning. And man, that was a solid win. That was much needed. Mike Evans back. Bucky, which I still can't believe that Bucky Irving does not have some sort of sponsorship from Bucky's as we keep talking about it. But man, what a game yesterday by the Buccaneers.
Oh yeah, that was a complete team win right there. The defense did what they had to do. The offense did what they had to do. And I just can't say enough about Baker Mayfield, man. I mean, he literally put his body on the line to get a touchdown. I mean, there's not many quarterbacks that do that. There are a few, but this guy if he doesn't stay in Tampa, I will be sorely disappointed because he has made that team so much better just with his attitude and his charisma and his leadership. That guy is definitely a franchise quarterback for the Buccaneers. Maybe not for other teams, but definitely for the Buccaneers. I think they found a good quarterback post Brady. And finally, the offense, I don't know if they were listening to the show, but they finally got Bucky and Tucker involved in the run game, and it was just crazy. I was ecstatic the whole game. Like they said, this is a game they should have won, and they won. But at the same time, I think they proved that they are definitely a team to be worried about in our division, and even going forward, I think if they play the way they've been playing, I think they can give any team a good run for their money. I mean, the games that we've lost, it's not like we've gotten blown out. We've lost by 3 points, a point, lost by 3 points in an overtime against the Falcons. I mean, this team is right there. And if they keep pushing and keep going the way that they're going, I think they can make a really good push and win the rest of these games out. I mean, we got an easy schedule coming up. We got the Panthers coming up next. And speaking of the Panthers, how about them giving a run for their money for the Chiefs, man? And that was a crazy game. I caught the end of it after the Bucs game went off, and they're showing some stuff there with Bryce Young. So it's definitely a push for the finish line in our division for sure. Sorry.
No, yeah, you're good. You're definitely good. I want to say hi to Trevor as I know he's getting ready to board a plane and come back over to the East Coast down to Florida. Trevor, always great to see you tune in. And if you guys have not heard his podcast as of yet, the Upper Bowl podcast, check it out. You can see it on Twitter's, goodness gracious. Well, yeah, on Trevor's Twitter page as well. Always a good time with his podcast and always a great time when he's on with Pete and I on the Pete Shepard Show. I can't wait to hear about the trip out there when he gets back home. And I know he's coming back home and then going straight to work, if I remember correctly from the conversation he had before he went out there to the West Coast. So, Trevor, I'm pretty sure you were excited just as much as everybody else was out there at SoFi Stadium. Quick comments before we get into it here. Rick M says, Rick Marcus, good friend here, always at the show and great friend personally. GBG picked the Rams. Shame. LOL. Yes, he did. I got those picks as well. Penguin EZ says, good morning, Angel Martinez Company and the chat. Go Pack Go. Yes, as obviously, let's see, speaking about in Green Bay, how many of us actually picked Green Bay? Did we have that as a game of the week? Let me go back and take a look. I don't think we had it for the week.
No, nope. I don't think we picked that game.
No, we didn't. But listen, I thought they were going to end up winning anyways. Thankfully, they were able to pull it off. So definitely Go Pack Go. Joey B says, I might eat an entire box of Munchkins this morning. Giants caused me mental trauma so bad. And then Baker Mayfield with a Tommy Cutlets gesture. What the F? The Giants have never been so low. And I agree. And Dylan this morning from the Spalding Media Network. Good morning, Dylan. As he says, good morning to Martinez and Company. Do appreciate it. Listen, a lot to unravel, a lot to unpack because, yes, the Panthers did give the Chiefs a run for their money and almost, it's GPG. It's one of those things before we get back into some Bucs talk here. Panthers played really well yesterday, and thankfully they didn't give up on Bryce Young. I know the redheaded stepchild is ready to step in there and take over. I get it. I think Bryce Young, a new home, some new digs, maybe I'll end up doing so well, but you fought so hard to come back. You tied at the end. You go into overtime. You lose the coin toss, and you get still an opportunity to try to win the game, but not so much. It's just, man, the Panthers, I have to say, at least for 1 week, truthfully, even though they won 2 in a row, they were going for the third. The Chiefs, for the most part, still don't look like the Super Bowl team of last year, but we did see the Chiefs struggle last year. And a lot of people had counted them out and said that they weren't going to get there. There was no way in the world they were going to get to the Super Bowl. And obviously, we were all proven wrong because he chose, or they chose, I should say, otherwise. But it's amazing to me, nonetheless, that, again, Chiefs fans, or I should say not Chiefs fans, but goodness gracious, as I'm trying to do 50 million things here, the Carolina Panthers fans should not, hold their head down low or anything else to that nature, because they did such an outstanding job. Hats off to the Panthers. Yes, you come up short, but nonetheless, you give at least the Chiefs a run for their money. And if the Chiefs keep playing and again, I just mentioned a little while ago, a couple seconds ago, that it's the slow starts. It's the kind of like what the Eagles have done, even though the Eagles have started the same way yesterday, finished up differently towards the very end. If the Chiefs continue to play the way they've been playing, in order to be the first NFL team to win back-to-back Super Bowl championships, if it's Detroit and the Chiefs, there's no way in the world I'm picking the Chiefs on that one. That would be Dan Campbell and crew that'll be able to take over that one. All right, before we get into some Bucks talk here, as I get more messages that come in, Duncan Dad says Starbucks. Duncan, oh my God, did he switch alliances? No way. Spalding says, "Oh, it's gas pump guy. I'm also the convenience store dude." Dylan, why? It's just I don't know why he tries. He goes away for a couple of weeks and he comes back and it always takes one comment to ruin it. Sorry, the convenience store guy. Goodness gracious. Duncan Dad says this week was nuts. This week was nuts with the games. FYI, have we been sold a bill of goods with the Texans? Yeah, that was definitely Stroud on that defense. And Sean Salisbury actually put out a tweet after the game, and he had mentioned that they deserved to lose at the rate they were playing. And I don't think any of us, and I know it wasn't pick of the week, but I'm almost certain that all of us would have picked the Texans over Tennessee, and then Tennessee surprised and stuns everybody. But Duncan Dad says, super busy this AM, but I will be listening. Thanksgiving week crazy, I would imagine. Duncan Dad, I will miss you not having up here on the co-chair, so I do appreciate it. Penguin AZ laughs, and then Starbuck, that's a less than sign. Okay, all right. All right, just want to make sure you don't switch alliances, but all right. Getting back to this Bucks game, this was something that Mike Evans' return was good. Bucky is just tremendous. Listen, they used all 3 running backs for the Buccaneers. This was probably the most well-balanced game that we've seen out of Todd Bowles this season. And as much as we like to, ride him for all intents and purposes, it was actually good to see that he put the perfect plan together. Now, I know a lot of people might say, well, it's the New York Giants and they're falling apart and they're not that good. Regardless, GBG, this was a team, because we've seen where Bucks, there's games that they should have won and they've lost. But having that, taken away from the Eagles' old way, they used to say the 3-headed monster, that was a well-balanced attack on the Giants yesterday in the Meadowlands.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, just with the running backs alone, putting all 3 of them in there and giving them all 3 a chance to play, I mean, that helped us out tremendously. And just Mike Evans' presence, you've seen, I mean, he didn't get the ball as much and as I would have liked him to get, but the passes that he did get thrown to him, or the targets that he did get, he took advantage of it and he made them pay. He's the type of player that even if he doesn't get any passes or any targets, you still have to watch out for him no matter what, because you don't know any second he can go over the top and catch a bomb down the field. And that's what we were missing in the offense in those days, or the games that he sorry and the games that he was not present. They never respected that long ball, and to see Combe use Rashad in the screen pass, the little slot, where usually we use Chris Godwin at. I think that's a good spot for Rashad. He's good at catching the ball, the backfield, and good for getting the screens and stuff. And another praise to Combe. I think there was like 11 different players that Baker threw to, And that's what we need. We don't need just one single player here, one single player there. We needed everybody to step up, and everybody stepped up, and they took this game seriously. Like you said, everybody's like, oh, it's just the Giants. They're a crap team. But at the same time, that's a game that everybody expected the Bucks to win, and we needed to win that game, not for anybody else, but just for ourselves to get our confidence back and to say, hey, we can make a push for the playoffs and maybe even the Super Bowl. And that's just good news for me to hear. And sorry, excuse me. And the tight ends even got involved. Payne Durham got a nice catch down the field. Kate Otten made an awesome catch in the third quarter. That's just good football, good all around team. Nobody's, oh, I want the ball or I want the ball. And Mike Evans is going for that 1,000 yards, but at the same time, we recognize that, hey, we can't give him the ball every time. We need to give it to different people, and that just goes to show that Combs, he knows he's got to spread the ball. He can't just target one person at a time or one player at a time. He needs to spread it out and get everybody involved. And that was just a great offensive. And I was really surprised with the defense. Also, they really stepped it up. I think they got like 3 or 4 sacks, and so that the defense is definitely moving well. And hopefully it keeps up as we go down this last stretch.
Yeah, the defense stepped up pretty big yesterday. It's good to see some of the guys are getting healthier to be able to come back. Obviously, Godwin. As much as we would love to have him to come back, unfortunately, it's not going to happen for in the season. But you had mentioned earlier on, and I want to get to a comment too, what Jenna Lane from ESPN, because she asked Bucky Irvin about his thoughts on the Baker Mayfield celebration in the end zone. So I want to get to that momentarily. But you had mentioned earlier too there, GBG, about this. Listen, the Glazier family, I know there's times, and I don't know why they do this. And Bucks fans, I call you guys out all the time because your stadium, Raymond James Stadium, which I've grown to love that place, mostly because obviously from USF, but it's just because it's such a fun stadium to go to, even though it's old. But if you go there for the first time, you wouldn't tell with the upgrades and stuff they've done around there. But Bucks fans need to turn out a lot more. You need to support your team so that the family can keep the family together. You got to figure Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield should be here at minimum, at least another 3 years, with the 4th year being an option year. They have to start really considering it. I know they only gave Mike Evans a short extension. Baker Mayfield only has until the end of this year. I would hate to see this team do so well. And even if Todd Bowles still in the hot seat, no matter what, you're still looking at it. I would say we probably cooled him down to maybe a 6 out of 10 on the hot seat. But even still, you have to start being smart and thinking about Baker Mayfield, how mature he's become, how he's had the confidence, building with this team, talking with this team, doing everything with this team. And I understand, listen, Tom Brady is a whole different character. I get it. I understand it. You reach a certain status. And even Tom Brady had talked about it. If he would have been a little more like Baker Mayfield, meaning if he would have had kind of like that one-on-one relationship with the guys, maybe he would have been a little bit better off instead of just focusing upon winning, which is nothing wrong with that either. But he just, as he mentioned, he ended up taking it too serious. To me, the Glacier family has to look at this, and they have to be really serious about what they want to do in the future, because right now you're looking at Baker Mayfield, who's probably at the prime of his life at this point, playing well, reading the defense really well. And we saw that yesterday, especially. But you're looking at someone who the Bucks should just start signing him. Start having that conversation. Start thinking about what you want to do with the future. You can draft. Don't get me wrong. You're still going to need a quarterback for the future. and who's to say, if this year isn't something that you want to look for in the draft because you have other key necessities, like, another wide receiver, maybe a defensive back, maybe a safety, but you bring in someone like Bryce Young, give him another opportunity, bring him here. You're going to get him for next to nothing. So you bring him to Tampa for 1 year as a backup in case something goes wrong. And I know it's a far stretch. I'm just kind of throwing that out there with the Panthers organization, but you got to really start thinking about how the Bucks are going to hold this team together. But we've seen the Bucks do dumb things and let good guys end up going. So if it was up to you, you're the GM, GBG, how much, as far as extension, would you give to both, to Evans and to Baker Mayfield?
Oh, well, Baker, I would try to lock him up as long as I could, as many years as I can get out of Baker Mayfield right now. Like you said, he's in his prime, and I would get him locked up for 4 or 5 years, 6 years if I could. Mike Evans, Mike Evans is kind of hard for me to decide because I love Mike Evans. He's a great team guy. He's always cared about the team. I'd try to lock him up for another maybe 2 or 3 years. I think that if him and Baker Mayfield can stay together, that would really help out this team and keep the cohesiveness together. I mean, we don't have to worry about Bucky because he's a rookie, but I would definitely try to lock both of them up, like you said, for maybe another 4 years if it's possible. And the good thing about Jason Light, and he doesn't get much credit, is he's good at maneuvering through the money to make room. I mean, like he did after the Super Bowl. I mean, we got all our guys back. I don't know how he did it. We were already up against the cap as it is, but he's good at moving money around. And hopefully he can convince the Glazers that, hey, we need to keep these two guys and keep the nucleus together as long as we can, because I think if they don't make it to the Super Bowl and they get out in the playoffs, I think next year, if we have everybody back and keep everybody, I think we can make a really good push and maybe even make it to the Super Bowl next year. So I think that if we can keep them around for another 4 years, each of them, the sky's the limit.
I would agree. And I'm hoping that that's true as far as when it comes to the GM, because listen, every week it's a joke out there. And I mentioned last week when Coach was with us with the Wesley Chapel Kings, he had mentioned that if the Dallas would end up losing once again, he would end up signing that application and become a Bucs fan. You guys have heard me kid around as far as with the Eagles, and listen, I've accepted the Bucs obviously as my second team here in Florida, because the maturity of Baker Mayfield is what really has me attached to what's going on here with the Bucs, because this guy he's a true leader. People can say whatever they want to. I know with the Browns, listen, Browns fans in general. I know Dave Volencheck had checked in a little bit earlier, who does a tremendous job with Steel City Renegades. And when everybody thinks that Dave is down, boy, Dave comes back. So keep looking for great things out of the Red Line Radio group out there on Facebook. You guys can always check them out over there, Steel City Renegades. But listen, this team, this is something different that I haven't seen the Bucs in years. Maybe, obviously when they had gone and won the Super Bowl, but this is, and I'm not talking about with Tom Brady, I'm talking about the original Super Bowl championship, the first one. But this team is doing things right. I'm not saying they're doing everything right, but they're doing things right. They're going on that right pace. They're starting to find ways to win. They're starting to collaborate and putting good things together. Yes, are they shy still? A couple guys on defense, of course. Offense, the same exact way. That's what you do every year as a team. But Bucs fans, if you're listening to me, you guys have to really start showing up. You do. It's that simple. You got to start showing up, because that's the only way that the Glaciers, the GM, it's the only way they're going to keep them around. If you guys keep doing this stuff where you allow for the opposing teams to come in, I mean, the Lightning had that problem for years. And now you go to Lightning games, and I want to say at least 90% of the Amalie Arena is filled with Lightning fans, and then 10% with, whoever comes into town. With the Avalanche, I'm pretty sure it'd be the same thing tonight. Maybe 15%. There's a lot of Colorado folks down here in Florida, but you got to start showing up. Start sounding your voice off, just like Eagles fans do. Listen, when Chip Kelly, and I mentioned this to GBG, I think it was yesterday when we were going back and forth, when Chip Kelly started blowing up that team, the fans let Jeffrey Lurie know, like, listen, this is what you want to do. They stepped away and they said, no, we're not going to let that happen. Yeah, see you later. And when they didn't show up, that was a awakening message for Jeffrey Lurie. He said, all right, Chip, you're out of here. And it changed ever since. With Nick Sirianni, the only thing that drives me bananas, I know he's animated, whatever the case may be, but Big Dom, please step away from the camera. No one needs to see you, bro. You are not anything on the team other than security. So just be security, be in the background. It's like, it kills me that every single time. And I know Pete said, I should let it go, but it just drives me nuts that Big Dom's face has to be at the camera. And then he's walking out Darius Slade to the locker room like, bro, you are not a medical doctor. You are not a medical profession. You're not even any of the coaches. Like, just stop it. Like, what protection does he need from going from the sideline out there in LA over to the locker room? So it's just more camera time for him. And that's the one thing I'm getting really upset when it comes to the Eagles. All right, I get it. Whatever last year was a cute little story, whatever this year is driving me bananas. But you look at the game yesterday, you got Baker Mayfield, 24 for 30, 294 yards, was not able to put one in the air for a TD. But still good numbers for Baker Mayfield. He did run one in himself. He carried 4 times for 29 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, his longest run was at 7.25, the 7-yard he ran into the end zone. And then he stands up and obviously, does the whole DeVito gesture, which I know some Giants fans didn't like it. The only thing that was bad was as soon as he did it, right afterwards, it was the missed extra point by the Bucs. And so that one was a little just on the kind of ridiculous side. Joey B, by the way, before I get into that video I was talking about here momentarily, says, I might need to adopt the Bucs as my second team. CGBG, we keep adopting new ones. And so Joey B says he might need to adopt them as a second team. Head to Raymond James Stadium and get a reverse suntan. Might be worth the price of admission. It is, Joey B. Except for Saturday. It wasn't that hot to get a reverse tan. It was only about 69 degrees when the game started, about 71-ish or so. Angle versus Big Dom. I can't. That dude's just getting on my nerves. I'm sorry, but he is. Angle coming out this morning from Tampa. Yeah, it's just God. He annoys the shit out of me. Honest to God, he really does. It doesn't make any damn sense. Giants fans will remember that gesture by Baker. Yes, they will. Mm-hmm. They definitely will. And not only that, Joey B, but obviously, listen, Saquon, you run 302 yards for scrimmage. It's got to really burn Giants fans because I'm pretty like anybody else. When you lose your favorite player to your favorite athlete to any other team, especially even if it's in a division, it's like, man, I hope that they lose. I hate it when we lost Reggie White to Green Bay. Absolutely hated it. And then what's he do? Goes and win a Super Bowl with the freaking Green Bay Packers. So thankfully we have one, but man, that drove me nuts. So listen, Giants fans they've got to be beyond an outsider skin. Joey B says, Joey B and Deb joining the Losers Club and Giants and Bears equally depressed fan bases. Yeah. Bears too. You talking about bear down. I would hate to see what the messages were from all the Bears fans, but I want to bring this up before I end up going into the break. Joey B says, Deb in Studio B, I feel your pain. Yeah, listen, she very, very knowledgeable. My wife is when it comes to the Bears, and even she was to the point of more of the same. But yet they hired their defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator. Excuse me. They pick up the new offensive coordinator. Same results. You guys, Bears. I don't know what you guys are doing. You keep Matt. I don't know what you guys see in Matt Eberflus. I really don't. But you guys keep him around for what is beyond me. And Bears fans, you guys show up there at Space Saucer Stadium, also known as Soldier Field, and you fill the place to capacity, and the Bears rise, and they make it seem like we're finally going to win one, and then nope, they lose once again because Eberflus does not take as many risks as he possibly should. But you still have a good quarterback. You still have a quarterback that's going to be your quarterback in the future. But same way, you guys gave away Justin Fields. I'm going to mention it, Chicago, so you guys get it right. You gave away Justin Williams. Gave him away. Justin Fields, excuse me. You gave him away, and now what? Pittsburgh is doing well, but that's a different show for a different day, different show, the whole 9 yards. But anyways, here's Bucky this was from Jenna Lane from ESPN when she asked him about the celebration of what Baker Mayfield did in the end zone. And yes, Giants fans, you guys are going to remember that for a good long time.
What did you think about Baker's touchdown celebration? Channeling Tommy DeVito. Did you guys know he was going to do that?
No, I didn't know he was going to do that. He got in there and then pretty much did it, and we was all happy for him.
He did everything today, right? He did that. He's hurdling defenders. That block that he delivered on your 56-yard run, is there anything this guy can't do?
I love Baker, man. He's a guy that want to win football games. He's competitive, and them the type of guys that you want around you.
Like all three of your running backs got the ball in the first possession, and you all did something with it. What was that like to have everybody get going like that?
We all know that we're going to play in the game, and when your number is called, you just got to go out there and perform.
Why were you able to get off to such a strong start today in the first half as a team?
I mean, we coming off a bye. We know that this game was important. We came out starting fast, and we had to finish.
Did it feel like they leaned on you a little bit more in both the pass and the run game today?
I just go out there and do my job. I don't really
You don't have a clue how many carries or touches?
Nah, I don't care about that.
Was this the first road game that you could hear those Bucky chants? Because I know we heard it at Raymond James Stadium, but I don't recall hearing it at a visiting stadium.
I be too locked in, so I don't really be pretty much. I mean, it's a blessing that the crowd is doing that, but I'm trying to lock in on a football game.
What do you guys need to do to allow this to kind of propel you forward, to go on a playoff push?
24-hour rule, get on to the next team.
So there you have it. You know, Bucky, at least he is speaking the absolute truth there in the same way. I don't think anybody expected for what ended up happening there with Baker Mayfield and doing the whole DeVito, hand gesture type deal. And I know they mentioned it too, I believe on CBS. Who was it that had mentioned it? Let me see. The maturing. Here's another quick clip. And they talk about the maturation, I guess if it's a correct word to use, about Baker Mayfield. So here's a quick snippet from CBS NFL where they talked about Baker and then obviously the touchdown.
And what a run for Baker Mayfield, doing the Tommy DeVito in the Giants end zone. Oh boy. And what a...
So Bucks right now are doing well, and they keep going the way they're going right now. There's no reason why they can't make the playoffs. As you had mentioned, GBG, the schedule gets a little bit easier from here for the Bucks. And,
I don't know. I just can't. I just have to praise Baker so much, man. He's brought so much energy to this team. I don't see how you can't like that guy. Like he made a block for Bucky down the field, diving into the end zone, puts his body on the line. I can't say it enough that this guy is special, and he's definitely come along with, come a long way from when he played in Cleveland. And I think the Browns people are kind of maybe sour about Baker being so good, but hey, you like you said, sometimes you just need to move over to somewhere else and change the scenery and change coaches and get a whole new attitude and a new outlook on life. And I believe Baker's found it here, and I'm glad I can see it happening, and hopefully it progresses into something wonderful.
I think it will. I mean, I don't remember a time, honestly, and I know we joke around a lot about it, but I've never known a time where you have fans that will want to switch over to the Bucks. And rightfully so. I used to say before with the Eagles, and still there's Eagles fans. I mean, who knows? Giants fans might want to jump over. Listen, Giants fans, you guys can go ahead and follow your application as an Eagle, but you have to go all green. You can't be doing this blue, white, half blue, white, and then green stuff. If you're going to come over, just end up coming over, because thank you for Saquon Barkley, because it is literally amazing what he did yesterday. And I even mentioned to Pete he was going to run all the way back to Philly just so he can have more yards from scrimmage because he felt so good last night. And I mean, at the post game, they had talked to him, and they had, this is when you go somewhere and sometimes you resurrect your career. And I know the Giants laughed. The Giants brass truthfully laughed about it like, okay, yeah, we're not signing him, because you guys were all in on Daniel Jones. All in. You thought Daniel Jones was going to be the future and you guys can build around him. And just some weeks later, then you tell Daniel Jones, okay, you're not going to be it. Oh, by the way, Drew Lock, you also are not going to be it. Even though he came in they were quick to bring him in for one series yesterday, because why? They don't want to pay him the incentives and the bonuses. And that's why you guys moved up DeVito from third to first. And he got banged up twice. The one play he came out, and then he ended up getting hurt again when he came back, but they kept him in there. Because that's, to me, I'm sorry. This is what I mean. The Giants fans, you guys got 99 problems, but DeVito ain't one. And you can see it on the bottom line when I put it up there for that reason, because how is it as an organization, you don't own the ownership, you basically tell the fans, like, yeah, you know what, Drew Lock, we know he can win, but we don't feel like paying him an extra $2 million or an extra $5 million. But yet you have no problem selling out, MetLife Stadium. And so what are you going to do with that money? You guys Giants got a problem. Giants got tons and tons and tons of problems. That's all I got to say. Joey B says, OMG, that Tommy Cutlass gesture clip by Baker that Angel keeps showing. I might eat another box of Munchkins. You're killing me, Angel. Now, listen, you got to celebrate on Monday, especially when your teams do well. Joey B says, again, Giants fans in Southwest Florida paying Baker's home a visit today. Lots of black Lincoln Town cars on their way to Mayfield's crib to pay a visit. Oh, that would be a great scene to see. I might have to put something together and throw it out there a little bit later on with just what Joey B just said. But we'll look at the schedule here for the Bucs, the remaining part away, and then going to the first break, and then we'll come back and talk some more. We are looking at, let's see, that was the final there. Then, of course, we had yesterday, the win, the 30-7. Then you have Sunday at 4:05 at the Carolina Panthers. Again, Carolina now, I'm not saying that's going to be nowhere near an easy win after what they did. Not only the 2 weeks in a row, they hung around to win, but what they did yesterday, Kansas City. So you have Tampa Bay, Carolina. Then they're home against the Raiders, and the Raiders are, wow. You talk about a team in just dysfunctional chaos. That is just the Raiders themselves. I mean, that's pretty bad. Then you have Los Angeles Chargers, who played tonight, by the way, the Harbaugh Bowl this evening against the Ravens. But you have them on a Sunday in LA at 4:25. And then for week 16, you travel out to Dallas against the Cowboys. That's a Sunday night game at 8:20. Then you're home against the Panthers. You host them once again for the second time for in division play. And then week 18, it's to be determined only because that's when all the flexing comes around, depending on what the Bucs end up doing. Do they flex that game? But week 18 ends with the New Orleans Saints. So there is so much that right now is going so well for these Bucs, but I just don't want Todd Bowles, and I know he hasn't had his presser, I don't believe, not yet. I just don't want him to come out and say, we haven't heard it much the last 2 weeks. We practiced well, we did that. Prove it. Show us on the gridiron what you're all about, Todd Bowles, because you're still, no matter what, you're still in the hot seat. No matter which way you look at it, and a lot of people still think that Godwin should have never been in there on a game that didn't mean absolutely nothing towards the end of it. But again, I know injuries happen. Joey B says, my hope is that Daniel Jones gets on with another team and has a chance to come back to the Meadowlands and beat the Giants. Will prove there are bigger issues than the QB. You're right. You're absolutely right, Joey B. How about Denver's with Bo Nix, playoff team, amazing rookie season he's having out there out west? Yeah, listen, you guys got to be, I know you're a Giants fan, but out there in Denver, for sure, they've got to be happy with having, and Sean Payton, I know a lot of people had said they didn't believe that he would have what he had with New Orleans. And then you had Russell Wilson that, that became a whole fiasco thing. They draft Bo Nix. You talk about a turnaround of one team with the same coach and the success they've had. Sure, Denver is definitely on the way up. And who knows? I'm not saying that, there's no reason why they couldn't make a deep playoff run. And maybe if Denver, it would be tough they couldn't, at this point, they wouldn't be able to host a game against Kansas City. But I think even if Denver goes to Kansas City, I wouldn't see why Denver couldn't have an opportunity to knock off the champs. So we'll see. It's just, there's so much football left. There's 5 to 6 weeks still left here in the NFL. This is where it starts to get super juicy and figure out who's who. And for the Eagles, yes, it was a good win. I'll talk about that after the break. Don't forget also, the Bucs have a cruise. And if you guys want to sign up for it, it's a 3-night Caribbean cruise. It is between March 7th through March 10th, of course, 2025. You guys can sign up for that. That's before everybody starts coming back for their voluntary OTAs and stuff. But it would be a good time. You guys can check it out on the Buccaneers.com website. Again, it's a 3-day cruise. I believe GBG has been invited by Baker Mayfield himself. So GBG, you have to let us know when you get back.
Oh, yeah. I wish I had the money to pay for that cruise.
You're not kidding. That would be I know the Eagles have done it, but that would be so much fun, I think, with the Bucs. But again, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen here in the future? All right. We are going to take our first break because we've got some bills to pay around here. Make sure we take care of our sponsors. Just like Tampa Joe's, if you guys have not visited, and maybe when Joey B comes into town, you guys, it's right off of Veterans Highway, right off of 589. Matter of fact, it's right off of 41, not too far off of Hillsborough Avenue. It is an absolutely fun place to go to. Not only watch the Eagles game, which is home of Philly of the South, the Facebook group page. It's out there with Mike Klein and Michelle Henley. It is such a great time out there. If you guys have not been there, check them out. 9316 Anderson Road in beautiful Tampa, Florida. A hop, skip, and a jump from the airport. You can literally, matter of fact, there's a hotel right in the parking lot. Brand new. I think it might be just a little over a year old. A beautiful hotel that's out there. You can stay right by the airport. Then you can just walk right on over to Tampa Joe's. You can drink all you want and then walk yourself right back over to the hotel where you don't have to worry about drinking or driving, which you never should. That's why there's Uber and Lyft. But it is such a fine establishment, and you don't have to go there just because the Eagles are playing, because they do show other games as well. But it's just a great time with the Philly crew out there on Sundays, or depending on what day the Eagles end up playing. But visit Tampa Joe's. You can also see their website at tampajoes.com. Visit them. You can also reach out to them on Facebook. They're really good on getting back to people. So if you have a question, or you have, matter of fact, Christmas parties are coming up, that would be a great place for a Christmas party. So check out Tampa Joe's, and the rest of our sponsors here are coming up. We thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to make your social media comments, as everybody else has had, through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, Kicks.com, Rumble, and of course, right through the app and the website, sr1029thegame.com. I am Angel Martinez here, Martinez Company, live in Tampa on a Monday. We'll be right back. It's Martinez Company on the Coastal Sports Network.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jimmy the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu. Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts, is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree. Yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Hey, everybody. It's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him in the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Wow. Awesome.
Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Download the Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game app and tell your friends that Florida has a new leader in digital sports radio.
I'm wide awake, and all the voices in my head wanna play. They're gonna take me to the place where the bass and all the hidden ways unfold. Rhythms and lights get to be.
All right, welcome back here. It is the bottom half of the hour, first hour of Martinez Company. We thank you all for tuning in here on the Coastal Sports Network. More importantly, on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game, the all 100% digital platform here for you guys to enjoy and, of course, be a part of. We always love your comments and your text messages. You guys can always call or text the show at 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. And you can make your comments all over the social medias to let us know exactly how we're doing. Or if you want to add to what your team has done over the weekend, by all means, you can go ahead and do so. Of course, on the line with me still is Gas Pump Guys. We were just talking about the Bucks here before the break. The one thing, let's see, I think it was Joey B said during the break here, airport, hotel, Tampa Joe's, no driving, sign me up. LOL, umbrella drinks on me, virgin banana daiquiri for Angel on me too. LFG, I'll get down there at some point. Definitely, Joey B. Listen, it's a great time, especially when listen, Tampa, GBG knows, even down in Fort Myers area, it is so much fun, especially this time of year where the weather gets to be really comfortable. Is even if you work outside, because now you're not sweating as much as we do throughout the year, but it's a great time down here. I mean, I've been down here for the last 5 years. Absolutely love it. I would never, ever. Listen, you can throw me in the refrigerator, the Lexus, the Mercedes, whatever it is up north. I'm sorry. Whatever deals is going to happen, it's going to happen from down here in Tampa because there's no way. I would never give up the sunshine. Yeah, we have to deal with hurricanes for about 2 months out of the year. Other than that, the other 10 months, we're absolutely living great down here in paradise. But all right, so GBG, before we went into the break there, we touched a little bit on the Carolina Panthers. We know the Bucs are going to be playing them shortly. Before we know it, which is the upcoming game. But one thing that I wanted to touch up on as well. Let's see. I may have moved it around. Let me take a look. The first drive of the game for the Bucs, 16 plays, started at their own 30, went 70 yards, took 8:23 off the clock there, and got the first 7, which Tucker had a 1-yard touchdown run. And the scoring play was by Hamsey and also Vita Vea, who reported as eligible. But Vita Vea, who we saw had started out the season, then was injured, has come back. He's doing well so far, and we hope it continues to be that way. He's been the obviously difference maker there on the offense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, just that I think is going to start turning into bringing Vita Vea in. I think that's going to turn into our kind of like the push the Philly had.
Mm-hmm.
Vea is that big guy that can just run up the middle and push everybody and let the running back just either dive in or walk in like he did on that first scoring drive. And another thing I wanted to point out is the offense was doing so well by the end of the first, going into the second quarter, they already had 200 and something yards of offense. I mean, that's crazy. Just in one quarter. Yeah.
It is. It was. I'm telling you, I want to see this team continue to exceed their own expectations. I want to see it because at this point it's been, I know they're only a couple years separated from winning one with Tom Brady. Then of course now, and listen, you know what? I even said to my wife yesterday, I really enjoy Tom Brady as a broadcaster and he's growing into it more and more and he's getting better and better as the weeks go by. I'd rather listen to Tom Brady. And again, words that I thought would never come out of this mouth because of all the years he spent with the Patriots. But I would rather listen to Tom Brady on a broadcast than I would Joe Buck. And I don't know if everybody else would be, subject to that. But I know for me personally, I will say both of us, I think we really appreciate Tom Brady on the broadcast. I think he's done a really good job. Of course, he knew he had to work Thanksgiving, but played surprise when the guys from Fox told him, hey, by the way, you're working Thanksgiving, right? And so, he knows it. That's what he signed up for. And he doesn't care. Tom Brady is one of those things. I mean, he enjoys his downtime, which he won't have as much as he used to have before. That's one thing that he's going to realize. During football, yes, you get a good amount of time off, but when you're in the media, especially as a broadcaster, you don't get as much time off as everybody else does. So welcome to this side of the world there, Tom. Joey B says, listen, I haven't heard from Fuji. I think Fuji probably jumped off a cliff somewhere, or he's still out there in LA trying to find his way back. Joey B says, is that Fuji backing up his RV at Angel's house? The reverse beep, LOL. Said, Fuji had enough of PA weather finally. Listen, Fuji will never leave Philly. Never. That man is glued to the Philly market forever. But no, that is out there. That's GBG in the work site where he's at. So if you guys hearing that backup, matter of fact, that's the Brinks truck that should be coming in for both Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. That's what you guys are hearing. But to recap our 5 picks before I get into some USF weekend stuff that went on, men's basketball ended up winning one of their 2. Women's basketball came so close with Louisville, but it came up short. But nonetheless, man, what an exciting game for the women. And then the men's football, I'll get into it momentarily. But over the picks, and now on the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em picks, I went with Minnesota. With us here as the 5 on Friday, I was the only one that went with Chicago, only because I figured that I would just throw them a bone, thought they were going to do well, maybe from the week prior, but it didn't happen. But you have, for example, Rick, Duncan Dad, obviously Gasp Guy, Penguin AZ, and Beeve all went with Minnesota, rightfully so. So the winners there. I'm the only one that lost, but again, on ESPN Picks and Pick 'em, picked them that way. All of us, and that was a clean slate all the way across. We all lost against Washington, Dallas. Who knew the Redskins will allow the Cowboys to come in and make them look dumb? Not only that, but 41 points scored in the fourth. Listen, you may not be a fan of both games, but that was an exciting ending to both. And I know, maybe, and I'm pretty sure with the drive with Q, people are going to say, what they want because Q picked for the Redskins to win a division. I don't think it's going to happen now, though, at the rate that the Eagles are playing. But again, we still have 5 more weeks of football left. But who would have thought, GBG, Dallas, as much as they've been sucking, found a way to win in Washington? Maybe the trip up to D.C., and a new commander-in-chief coming in, all the good fun stuff. Who knew? Maybe that was a turnaround that was finally needed because, man, it was exciting. And I know a lot of people want to mention that, like Jaden Daniels, first of all, there's nothing wrong with the kid. He's fine. I think the Redskins even knew at one point or another they may have, I would have thought maybe 2 in a row, 3 in a row. They're still going to be there no matter what. But either way, I'm quite sure Redskins fans couldn't believe what happened towards the very part or the very ending of that game.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's crazy with the Cowboys because if you think about it, they were on the road and they usually win on the road. Where they don't win is at home, and I think that's what the bigger not the bigger surprise, but the bigger feeling is that they were on the road, so they could win the game because that seems to be where they play well is on the road. They don't play so well at home, but I didn't think the Redskins were going to give it up to them. I think Jaden Daniels is a really good quarterback, and he's got to have some setbacks. He can't be perfect all the time, So, and he's a rookie, so as long as he learns from these mistakes and learns from the games that he loses, I think he can still come out and be pretty good of a quarterback.
He is. And Dan Quinn and crew, listen, it's a 3-game slide. It doesn't happen that often with the Redskins. I don't see them losing 4 in a row. I don't see it happening. For the year that they've already been having thus far, and especially with a rookie quarterback, I mean, they have nothing to hang their heads low about. It was a tough game. Who knew that Dallas decided they want to come out and win? I thought, honestly, they would have lost, but then obviously the Redskins will travel to Dallas, which I'm pretty sure will be payback for them because Dallas has been playing horrifically at home. And I know that may not be a word, but I'm making it up today because that's exactly how they're playing at home. Now, the next one, which I think for a lot of folks here, I had Arizona and Seattle as 3 out of the 5 games for this week. Now, the losers on that one was Duncan Dad, Beeve, you, Penguin AZ, and Rick. You guys all picked Arizona, and I thought that Seattle had to win one. I don't believe that much when it comes to what Arizona is doing. I don't believe too much in their quarterback. I think they need to change some things out there in Arizona. But to me, Seattle was due to win one, and they sure did yesterday. So a good win by Seattle. And then, of course, we all picked for the Tampa Bay New York Giants game. No one picked the Giants, rightfully so. And I didn't even think Joey B would have picked the Giants if that was the case, if he was in part of the picks there. But then you have Detroit and Indianapolis, and that was a clean sweep across the board, as well as all of us had gone with Detroit. And GBG, you look at it at this point, if the playoffs were to start right now, and you look at Detroit, the way Detroit's playing, and you look at the way the Eagles are playing currently, I'm not even going to next week, just up until where we are at this point in the season, could these two teams be vying for the NFC Championship game?
Oh yeah, definitely the Lions for sure, and the Eagles have definitely come a long way since the beginning of the season. And I know you don't like to get hyped up about it, but I think the Falcons, the Eagles. I think the Eagles are actually starting to play really well. I know pulled out from under them, but I don't think that's going to happen this year, Angel. I think they finally got something together and they're finally starting to click, whether it's because they don't want to see Sirianni go or they're just tired of hearing Sirianni and they're just starting to play for themselves. But whatever got into them, they're starting to play really good. And I think it could be Falcons. God dang it. the Eagles and the Lions. I think it could be a championship game right there. I think the Lions will win, but
No, I think so as well. I know you bring up a good point. I think so as well. Maybe somebody else who has a good point about this one end up being Rick Marcus as he joins us here on the line as well. Rick, thanks for calling in, and we do appreciate it.
Good morning, Angel. How you doing, everybody?
I am good. How are you?
I don't know. I'm disappointed in Gas Pump Guy. I mean, I went for his Buccaneers against Kansas City, and then he took the Rams last night. What was he thinking?
I guess I wasn't thinking clear.
That was probably your game was probably the best bet that I had yesterday. I just figured Tampa Bay was going to roll all over the Giants. That was kind of like an easy pick, and they definitely did that. That was for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And sometimes it's those easy picks that end up turning around and biting you in the butt. It's like you think you're going to get an easy game, and then something happens, and you end up blowing it, and you lose everything.
I think my gut feeling says that the Buccaneers, with the injuries that they had, with Evans coming back and obviously Godwin being out the rest of the year, sometimes you just got to take one step backwards to take two steps forward. And I think that's where the Buccaneers are headed. I think they're going to end up winning that division, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I hope so. It's the Falcons are the team that we need to catch up to and put a handle on it. It's bad that it's sad that we already played them twice already and lost to them twice. So if we can sweep the Panthers and sweep the Saints, I think we're being a really good spot.
Yeah, well, another thing I wanted to do is, say I really feel bad for Joey B out there in Colorado. I know he's the Giants fan, and I almost feel guilty for having Saquon Barkley on our team because that guy is incredible. And I think it came down to when he played for the Giants, it was the protection that and the openings that he wasn't able to get as he is now with the Eagles.
I don't think so. Well, yeah. I don't think you bring up a good point there, Rick, because I think the same way. And yeah, Joey B, he's reeling it right now, along with the rest of the Giants fans at that matter. But no, I think, for a lot of people who throw in, I don't think even New York didn't believe in Saquon Barkley. And I don't know why. It's not like he was old. He wasn't a has-been or anything else. But you decided, you know what? We don't need him. Well, we prefer to keep Daniel Jones and keep him around and keep the money and blah, 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 and say whatever they want to say. And obviously they want to keep the money because they don't want to pay Drew Lock. But at the same time, too, listen, thanks to them, Saquon having the craziest season ever. And he talked about he felt like energetic because he's back. My only, and I hope not, as I knock on wood here on the desk, is that I know they're trying to utilize him as much as possible. But also, we are going late into the season, and the last thing that the Eagles need would be any kind of significant injury. We already have one, or I should say the Eagles already have one, with Brandon Graham, who tore his tricep after having such a great game yesterday. And it makes me, and Rick, I'll ask you this, with Brandon Graham, because obviously we knew that this was supposed to be his retirement, tour party, the whole 9 yards. I would think that he would not want to go, even if the Eagles, let's just say for all hypothetical reasons, make it to the Super Bowl and win. I don't think Brandon Graham wants to go out that way. So would you be surprised if he talks to Jeffrey Lurie and Howie and says, listen, obviously this is not the way I want to retire. Can I come back for one more and then we'll call it a season or we'll call it a career?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I have a feeling that the Eagles organization would probably offer him something within the organization to stick around. He's a part of that, and his name is going to definitely go up on the wall at some point.
It would have to. It would have to. From how much he's contributed, there's no way they couldn't not offer him something whatsoever. I mean, you look at Brian Dawkins became the ambassador, and then the year he becomes the ambassador is the same year, by the way, the Eagles finally win the Super Bowl. So he ended up getting his ring from being an ambassador on the team, which was really, really nice to see. But yeah, I would think if anything, he would have to be somewhere in the front office. I mean, I know that obviously with Jason Kelsey being offered with ESPN, I mean, you could even, I don't know, NBC Sports Philly, depending on what's going to happen. I know there's a lot of shifting movement when it comes to radio and TV. I know iHeart's about to do another massive layoff once again at Christmas time. There's going to be a lot of radio stations that are potentially going to be shut down. I don't think Tampa is done yet. We're letting some of their talent go. Thankfully, around here, we're not letting anybody go because if anything, we'll be picking up people here if, God willing, everything keeps going the rate that it's going. But I would think that it would have been nice to have Jason Kelsey and Brandon Graham on some sort of Eagles football type show, whatever the case may be. That would have been nice to see, but I'm pretty sure he's going to end up hanging around. And speaking of, you're mentioning the records earlier about Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is only one behind the Atlanta Falcons. They're 6-5. The Bucs are 5-6. New Orleans at 4-7, and the Carolina Panthers at 3-8. But it could very much still be the division for. And I haven't even looked at the Falcons schedule unless I can bring that up while we're talking here. But I mean, right now, Tampa Bay minus Carolina, and again, they have 2 to face against Carolina, so it's not going to be something easy for them to do so as well. But if I look at Atlanta's schedule after getting shellacked by Denver 38-6, looking at their schedule coming up here, you have week 13. They got a bye that's coming up, which I'm pretty sure they would love to use. And I think that's the last of the bye weeks coming up here for week 12. Then week 13, December 1st, it's going to be against the Chargers at 1:00. That's at home. Then they travel to Minnesota for a 1:00 game on the 8th of December. Then they're at Las Vegas Raiders, not LA, LV, at the Las Vegas Raiders on December 16th. That's an 8:30 game. That's a Monday nighter. And then they finish up with they'll have 2 at home. Week 16 against the Giants. That's a Sunday at 1:00. Then they visit the Commanders out in Washington. That could be a flex game depending on where the records stand at that point, especially for Washington and for Atlanta. And then it could be another flex game week 18 as they finish off at home against the Carolina Panthers. So if you're looking at wins, losses, possibly, I wouldn't necessarily say they're winning against the Chargers nor Minnesota. So if you look at this stretch, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. They could go 3 for 3 with a possibility of, unless they can pull one off the Chargers, then maybe they go 4-2 in that stretch. But nonetheless, it's going to be, I think, maybe just a tad bit tougher schedule than the Bucs.
And that's really the only team I'm really worried about with our schedule is the Chargers. That's the team that really sticks out to me. I'm not too worried about Dallas. The Panthers, I'm worried, but I think they can handle the Panthers. The Saints, that we always play them there. I think that's our biggest rival in the division is the Saints. But yeah, the Chargers is the game that I'm really circling. If we can win that game, I think we'll be pretty good off.
I think so. What say you, Rick?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What say you as far as with the Falcons? They figured the final 6 games coming up here at the end of the season.
I'm still sticking with the Buccaneers. I just don't see them. I just see them getting better. Bucky Irving is a big reason, and Mayfield. He's just somebody who he won't quit. Sometimes you watch these teams that are down by 10, 15, 20 points, and it just seems like they quit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that in Baker Mayfield, and I think that's what's going to put them over the top.
I think so.
Now, I will say this, though.
Sure.
If the Eagles meet the Buccaneers again, I'm sorry, gas pump guy, it's just not going to happen another time.
We'll see.
It's not going to happen.
Hey, as long as you guys got Barkley and he's running pretty good, I think that's the big game changer right now is for the Eagles. Is Barkley's doing really well and the line is holding up really well for him and getting some blocks and running lanes going. So that's really good on their part. I think even missing Jason Kelsey, I don't think they've really missed a beat except for in the beginning of the season. But they're starting to come around, and it seems like they're playing pretty good now.
Earlier in the year, when I watched the Eagles here in Tampa, it just seemed like the Buccaneers knew how to control that push that we had.
Yeah, you got Vea in there and Clancy in there and Diaby in there. They're some big guys. Those are some big guys. Vita Vea is like 300 and something pounds. So you got to be able to push that and the other guy. So
that is for sure. Hey, Angel, I got one quick question for you. Do you think the Eagles can run the table?
That would be hard. That would be extremely hard for the Eagles to be able to do so. Right now, like I said, I'm not trying to get on some crazy high horse. I'm quite sure the Eagles fans back in Philly are going to be calling on the local radio stations and going berserk about it. I don't see it. And I personally, I mean, right now you're looking at what between them and Detroit to be able to win and host throughout. It would be tough, really tough to do so. And I would have to take a look at the rest of their schedule as well, as I don't have it in front of me. But I'll as we talk here, I'll end up bringing it up. Let me flip back over to where's my other screen? Here it is. I don't know. I want the Eagles to do well. I want them to be on the same sheet of music that they seem to be on right now. It seems, again, from afar, it seems like Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are finally back on the same sheet of music. Finally. And I will use that loosely because every week is something new when it comes to the Eagles. But I did mention 2 weeks ago that I was happy to hear Jalen Hurts going back to the way Jalen Hurts normally talks with confidence, that he seems like he knows exactly what he wants to do going forward. And I'm thrilled on that behalf that it seems to be going that way. Now, I know it was a short turnaround because they have Sunday at 4:25 against Baltimore. I would love for that one to be a win. But Baltimore right now is going to be chased, especially tonight with a Monday Night Football game. It's going to be they're going to be looking to win because they're not trying to lose their division as well. But I would love for them to see a win on that one, and they have the following Sunday at 1:00 against the Panthers. And we, Gasman guy, and we're talking about in the beginning of the show here that Carolina is not making it easier for anyone going forward. I mean, if they gave the Super Bowl champs, the defending Super Bowl champs, a run for their money, they're going to do the same thing with the Eagles. Then you have the Steelers at 4:25 on the 15th, the Commanders, at the Redskins land. Then you have the Cowboys at home, the Giants, and how they finish it up. I mean, I would love for that stretch for them to go possibly 4-2. It could be a 3-3 type deal, or they can make a monkey out of me and just go 6-0 the rest of the way. The only problem when you have something like that, Rick, is that when you get into the playoffs, if you have that kind of momentum going and you can keep it that way, the same thing when we saw in 2017, then that's great. But you also want to be grounded a little bit so you don't get too high on yourself as you're coming to the playoffs. As long as they remain injury-free, especially Saquon Barkley, could they make it deep in the playoffs? I would hope so. But again, I'm not trying to get on that high horse. But I personally wouldn't like for them to run the table.
That definitely would be great. And on that note, I have some things I need to take care of. So it was great talking to you guys. Have a great rest of your day, and go Birds.
Go Birds indeed. Rick, thank you very much. Always appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. So there goes Rick. We are also going to go into our next commercial break because once again, I have some things to take care of to make sure that the people are on here who invest into the station, make sure we take care of them as long as we try to take care of everybody else. When we come back, we'll get into some USF talk. The Lightning are at home against Colorado. Did not fare well their last game over the weekend. Lightning are having themselves yet another season. And you wonder sometimes and you scratch your head because over the weekend, I mean, they looked, and correct me if I'm wrong, GBG, I don't know if you had the time to be able to check out the game, but they looked like they were getting smoked out there on the ice.
Oh, yeah. I think the problem with the Lightning is they're having a hard time trying to find somebody to take Stamkos' spot.
Yeah.
Like out there on the line with Cooch and Point and all of them, it's kind of hard for them to try to find somebody to get into that spot and get that one-timer that Stammer used to always get. And I think that's what's really hindering them right now. I mean, they play really good when they play good, but at the same time, it's like it gets them a while to get to that point throughout the game.
I think so. Listen, and I'm not. You always have to bite your tongue when it comes to this one too, because Vasilevsky, and I don't know what it is. After it seemed like the Colorado series when they lost that year into the Stanley Cup, but it seems like since then when he got launched for 8 goals in that playoff game, I don't know. It's just not the same. And I know he went through his back surgery, and then why? I don't know why they would decide to bring him back. And I know a lot of times it's not up to coach. It's the agent, and he's got a contract and blah, blah, blah. why not wait until March? But you decided to bring him back. He came back leaving a little bit earlier than he was supposed to have. And you wonder sometimes if it's still hurting him. Now, he may not come out and say it, nor will the Lightning, for all intents and purposes. But Vasilevsky, to me, is not the same that we have seen in earlier years past. And I don't know if it's going to continue to pose a problem for the Lightning. I know right now they're still trying to get their line set up the way they want to. I know there's a lot that's going on with Coach Cooper. Not personally, obviously, just with the team itself. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That Stamkos void is huge. And there were a lot of people that said that it may not be, something that the Lightning were be able to take care of, because it's just, he's missed. Stamkos is missed. And for what I understand too, in Nashville, that's not going the way I guess they expected it to go with Stamkos being over there, because it wasn't too long ago where he did it in a nice manner, that he called out his teammates saying, this is not basically what I signed up for. I came here to win, and I expect for you guys to do the same. So we'll get into some USF talk after the break. You are listening to Martinez Company here live at the Coastal Sports Network on Sports Radio 102.9 FM The Game. Don't forget to visit Tampa Joe's 9316 Anderson Road in beautiful Tampa, Florida, and visit Tampa Joe's at tampajoes.com. I am Angel Martinez from Martinez Company. We'll be right back.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber, and I would like you to know that our company has been selling Anderson windows for over 60 years. See the complete line of Anderson windows at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or in Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
What's up, Southwest Florida? Jim and the Beef Guy here. Fort Myers, we answered your call. We're pumped to announce the opening of our second location. It's on 41 just north of the Edison Mall. And guys, nothing's changed here. The beef, the sausage, the breaded steak, our Maxwell Polish. Now serving you in 2 locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. And don't forget, if you're having a party, check out our catering menu.
Hey guys, when you're at the counter, don't call it Gardenia. It's pronounced Chardonnay.
Phil Castanetti, Sports World in Saugus, Massachusetts, is New England's place to buy or sell the finest in sports memorabilia. For over 35 years, Sports World has offered the finest in sports collectibles. Last month, you might remember Tim Thomas, legendary Bruins goalie, returned on October 5th. What a turnout it was. And now a new event coming up. On Saturday, November 30th, it's Willie O'Ree. Yes, the original Jackie Robinson of the National Hockey League. He'll be signing autographs to the public, $25 each. There'll be photos, pucks, and cards available. Phone orders are welcome. Just call 781-233-7222 for more information. Sports World in Saugus. Be there. Hey, everybody. It's Pete Shepard from the Coastal Sports Network. Want to tell you about my good friend Lou DiMuzio and his company. Lou is the president and founder of Ace Technology Advisors. They're big-time tech specialists. At ATA, they're able to craft, implement, and manage the best and most appropriate solution for your business. They leverage their industry-leading experience and their portfolio of technology partners to improve your best practices and infrastructure. So you can get a hold of them at 888-599-4223. That's 888-599-4223. Check them out on their webpage, www.acetechadvisors.com. That's www.acetechadvisors.com. Or you can email them sales@acetechadvisors.com. Check out my friend Lou DiMuzio and Ace Technology Advisors.
Ion Tampa Bay is the latest news, weather, and traffic for Pinellas, Pasco, Ellsboro, Hernando, and surrounding communities. Stay connected on X, Facebook, and their website, iontp.com. Ion Tampa Bay keeps you informed on breaking news as it happens. Southwest Florida's newest game in town. Sports Radio 102.9, the game powered by Ion Tampa Bay. We'll be right back.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Awesome. Where were you, Jill? Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Don't just follow us on the socials. Call or text the show 727-858-6650 and let us know what's on your mind. Now back to Martinez and Company.
All right, welcome back here to Martinez Company. We do appreciate you all tuning in here this morning. It is Monday, November 25th. Here in Tampa, it is about, 68 or 70-ish degrees outside. We do appreciate, once again, everyone who's tuning in. And we thank you very much for not only patronizing here the radio station itself, but don't forget you guys can download the app over on sr1029thegame.com, or you can point your phone up there at the screen and take a picture of, or obviously point up the QR code, and you can download the app that way as well. Don't forget to always visit sr1029thegame.com, not only for obviously our content here on the network, starting out in the morning with Pete Shepard in the morning from 7 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. Of course, myself here, Angel Martinez from Martinez Company, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Of course, this week will be a condensed week because it is Thanksgiving, so we will be off on Thursday and Friday so we can enjoy the time with our friends and families. But normally it is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 to 12. The Drive with Q, as Q continues to be busy with boxing, hopefully after the holidays, he'll be back to a normal schedule where he normally is on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 4 to 6. But as of late, he's been on from 5 to 6 on Mondays and Fridays, again, until his boxing schedule clears up. Then he'll be back with us. And then you have Beeve with Beeve's World from 6 to 7 p.m., sometimes a bonus time up until 8 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays. And of course, he joins me on Fridays at 11 o'clock. And then Lloyd Vance's Insider Football from 8 to about 9:15 p.m.-ish or so. And then on Wednesday nights, you also have Talking Hoops at 8 o'clock with Coach Mack, Coach Johnson, and Ron Briscoe. Speaking about Talking Hoops, yesterday out there at the ESPN Sports Complex in Orlando, the women played Louisville and came so close as they fought back to be able to try to pull off the upset victory against number 22 ranked Louisville. Unfortunately, they came up just a tad bit short, 64-60. But man, what a show it was. And going into the fourth, it was a back and forth showcase. You had Pusis, who ended up with 10 points. Dembele, Mama, with 2. Blasi with 19. Piper with 3. And Brito with 11. The notables there on the game itself. Now, with the assist was Mama, who had 6 points off the assist, or 6 assists, I should say, excuse me, off there. And they played so well. And if the game was called yesterday, if you guys missed it, it was on Bulls Radio. A great call of the game yesterday. And I sent a message out, and I have to, let me go back because I do not want to not do this correctly. I know Jim takes care of the football side. Let me get back to here, and I'll tell you exactly who I'm talking about here. Let me try and make this easier. It's a little bit difficult when you're by your lonesome, as I say here, and I sit here all the time and talk about it. But as I sent a message yesterday to Derek Sharp and let him know that him and Bridget Miranda did such an excellent job yesterday on the broadcast. I didn't get a chance to watch it via video because I was watching the other games. So I had the Bulls radio in my ear as I was watching 3 games plus the listen to the radio play-by-play. Man, you talk about if you're a fan of radio, meaning like back in the day when you put it on because you wanted to follow, you want to hear your favorite broadcaster and how they did a color commentary. Those two yesterday knocked out the park. And especially when it became so intense in the fourth that I had my Bluetooth speaker on. And as we were walking by some folks, as we ended up going out at halftime and then coming back, they were wondering like what we were listening to. But man, what a call yesterday by Derek and by Bridget. And I wanted to send him the kudos, which I did on Twitter, and he did appreciate it. But again, if you guys love to hear good color commentary, I would say for you guys to tune in on the TuneIn app, Bulls Radio, whenever, whether it be in the guys or girls playing, but listen in, especially when it comes to the girls, because man, what a fantastic call by those two yesterday. And I'm very grateful and appreciative of what they did. But overall, it was Louisville who ended up winning the game. Again, for Louisville, for Harris, she had 8 points. Randolph had 6. Williams had 4. Roberts had 2. And Cochran ended up with 13. Bigger difference was threes were not raining as much as we had seen on Wednesday out there at the Yingling Center. But Coach said after the game was over that in any post-game commentaries, you guys can catch it over on the website as well under USF Athletics tab. But he had mentioned it was a tough, he said he couldn't believe that ESPN, the guys and girls doing the ESPN Plus call that day on TV could get through that game because it was a tale of 51 turnovers. On this one, not as much. They cleaned up a lot from what they didn't do right on Wednesday, even though they did pull off the win. But Coach said it didn't feel like an 11-point win. But yesterday, he felt much better. I had acknowledged how better the performance was. And I also want to bring up a video as well, as long as I can go back and find it here momentarily. And of course, I closed it out as soon as I found it. So let me go back once again. I also want to bring up too something about Deion Sanders that I didn't get a chance to do it with Pete earlier, but I mentioned this with Pete about how Deion Sanders has kind of won me back from one thing he had mentioned over the weekend. I thought he did such a great job. But now I'm going to bring up the full recap here of the game yesterday. Let me stop that there. This is from Louisville women's basketball. I want to make sure I acknowledge them on their social media handle because I want them to have the acknowledgement as they should. This is going to be the full replay highlight of what went on yesterday out there at the ESPN Sports Complex in Orlando as the women came up short 64-60, but here are the highlights of the game.
South Florida has locked the Cardinals down at this end of the floor. Curry found Barry in the corner. There's a triple. Talented freshman of 11 from the floor. Romy Levy in for the first time, and she threw it away. Curry the steal and the finish. Another three. Amari Berry with her third of the quarter.
Table, get that one ready to review.
Very close. That ball may have still been on Levy's fingertips when she let it go. Cochran showing some strength inside. Shot clock at 6. Blazig with space in the corner, rebounded by Berry, and now 2-on-1 for Louisville. Cochran running the floor, lays it in. Louisville's been great in transition. There's a touch for Harris.
Nice cut.
Asking for players to cut. Williams, bounce pass, Cochran, counted and a foul.
Almost 3 minutes, or now we're at 3 minutes for them. Beautiful pass by Williams.
Nyla Harris running the floor. Another timeout for South Florida as the lead has swelled to 9. Harris taps the rebound. Williams comes away with it. And Randolph scores.
I also think Louisville can speed you up at times.
Randolph, good head fake with a great box out, but she threw it away. Curry lurking, steals and scores. Roberts in the corner, Williams all alone, she lays it in, and Louisville gets back in front.
So at that point, it was just, a couple more points added at either or. There was a foul. Shots were taken, obviously, from USF to end up getting one of the two from the foul. They end up losing, like I said, 64-60, but it was such a great tournament there at the WBCA, at the ESPN Sports Complex. But I also want to bring up, because Coach Fernandez does not hold anything back, meaning that, he's going to speak his mind, and rightfully so, because the much better turnaround than what we had seen from Wednesday night. But here's Coach Fernandez, and he's discussing this after the game. They had the interview with him, the post-game presser, I guess, if you want to like to call it. But this was because of the WBCA showcase, and he had mentioned early on, if you guys hadn't missed that one, that he felt like the team, it was good that they were there, they got the experience, but felt like they were still not at the point of talent to be able to play there as far as representing. But he said it in a constructive way, so I don't want anybody to kind of take that out of, any different. But nonetheless, here's Coach Fernandez, and he just mentions about the gameplay and how it worked
the
out.
Inaugural State Farm WBCA Showcase. Austin Lyon, Christy Thomas Cuddy. We've been joined here courtside by South Florida coach Jose Fernandez. Coach, let's start with the game you guys just played. A battle with Louisville that went right down to the wire. What were your takeaways from how your team performed?
Well, I was just really proud on how we came out of timeouts. I thought we got out of the gate really, really good. We got out of transition and finish. Game changed a little bit in the second quarter with our turnovers. But, this is why you play this type of schedule, to put yourselves and your team in great positions against a really good basketball team to get ready for January and February. But we got to do a much better job on the glass, and then, like we talked about, making sure we do a great job executing down the stretch.
Jose, can you speak to just how important this event is for coaches in our game, the inaugural State Farm WBCA Showcase?
I think it's, I think what coaches want and programs want are quality events, right? In a quality venue, a quality atmosphere, and this is it. I think there's only room for growth. I think we're in an area where the community can get behind this event for the future. In year one, incredibly organized, incredibly well run. I think you got two really good crowds in here for these two single games, but it's an event that's only going to get better, I think.
Jose, you are the vice president of the WBCA, president-elect as of next summer. Can you speak to why the WBCA is so important for the coaches in our game?
Well, it's a women's basketball coaches association for coaches not only in the United States but all over the world. So our association represents high school, junior college, all three divisions, NCAA divisions, travel coaches, youth coaches.
WNBA coaches.
Correct. So it's there's so many buckets at the WBCA now. We're running quality tournaments, whether it's programming, professional development, also providing opportunities like the Next Generation Institute, the next head coaches that are going to be leading collegiate teams, and also the So You Want to Be a Coach program. So there's so many different areas that our Coaches Association provide avenues for the next generation of coaches, but also the voice for our current coaches and a direct line with the NCAA, with legislation and all those sorts of things.
And a busy time for you with the Final Four coming to Tampa at the end of the season. Thanks for joining us here at the half. Wish you the best of luck the rest of the way and in your tenure as president of the WBCA.
Thank you.
Jose Fernandez, the head coach of the South Florida Bulls and president-elect of the Women's Basketball Coaches Association.
That's a huge honor for Coach. Obviously, he takes it very, very seriously to be, the president-elect of the WBCA. You guys had just heard it was the inaugural season 4. He's going to take over next year on top of all the daily duties that he does over at USF. And as it was mentioned here, it's going to be really exciting to have the Final Four here in Tampa coming up here in March. Listen, Coach Fernandez, you guys hear his voice get shot by the end of the game. And if you guys have not been to a game at the England Center, please buy your tickets. I cannot say that enough. Go usfbulls.com. Check it out. Or as also, you can go through sr1029thegame.com if you're already there in the app. All you have to do is just, reach out on the tab there for the USF Athletics, the icon, and it'll take you over to her site as well. But he gets very adamant on the court. You can hear him as he exchanges players that have their time to come out, change up the lines, adjust the lines. But for the inaugural time, and he had said it was good to see USF up there with a ranked team, to see where they measure themselves, right? Because when it comes down to March Madness, you want to get there. You want to make that push. You want to make that final run. You want to get to finally be part of the the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final Four, and then obviously into the championship game itself. But USF played one heck of a game yesterday and cannot take anything away from it other than just keep getting better. So as January rolls around, you had heard Coach just mention not too long ago, so you can start making that push towards March Madness. There is no reason why I don't believe early on into this season, the way the ladies have been playing, on why they cannot be part of that March Madness. And I hope and pray that they're there in Tampa coming up here in March, April. As you guys know, March Madness, it comes, the bracket of 64. It's here and gone before we know it. It's the one time of the year that everybody waits for, just like the Super Bowl and other things, but it comes and goes by so daggone fast. And I can't wait to see the ladies back on the court at home. December 5th is the next time they'll be home. 11 o'clock game. You guys can still purchase your tickets. Please support what this team is doing. They are doing incredible things. And Coach Fernandez, hats off to you, because, man, it was again, great call by the broadcast team over on Bulls Radio. But not only that, for how this team was fighting to come back in the fourth. I could only imagine what it was like on TV, but me hearing it on the radio play-by-play call, I can only imagine what it was like. And from what I understand, an applaud goes out to thank the locals here that went out to Orlando to help push this USF team to go out there. So if you are part of the folks that went out there, thank you for going out there and helping them out as well. Of course, the coverage will be here, part of Sports Radio and USF. We'll be covering the entire season for you here, the USF women's basketball team. And then coming up in February, we will be doing the inaugural season with the ladies lacrosse team as they get ready in February to take on the pitch at Corbett Stadium. There'll be more news released about that a little bit later on. So a lot of work with us in USF, which is absolutely fantastic. And I could not be thankful enough to be working with USF. And I'm honored that I was able to cover the USF men's football team, along with the basketball team, but also the football team, as they are now bowl bound. Because if you guys missed it, it was a game for the books. They needed one more win after winning the week prior on the road against Charlotte. They had to come home and beat Tulsa, and that they did. Not only that, but they were able to get a highlight. If I can bring that back up, there was an amazing highlight that actually made the top 10 from ESPN. So let me go back and look for the men's football here as I tackle things all by my lonesome while I'm here after Pete Shepard. But this was a highlight, and I'll bring up the drives of the game here. But this was unbelievable. And to be there up in the media booth to see what happens, this is Ben Knox. This is all I can say. This was incredible to watch there at Raymond James Stadium. And it was insane. A deep bomb by Tulsa. And I mean a deep, deep bomb by Tulsa. And Knox never gave up and made you wonder, like, how in the world did that happen? And I think even the caption was, "What just happened?" So here's a highlight from ESPN. This was from Saturday against Tulsa.
2-0. Number 8, Tulsa and South Florida. Kirk Francis to Joseph Williams. But check out USF's Ben Knox. Big hustle play to knock the ball out and save a touchdown. I am the one who knocks. Oh. Unbelievable. South Florida wins 63-30.
2-0.
It was incredible. That whole game itself, both sides of the ball. And listen, I had mentioned the last time when they played Navy, it was a very, very slow start by USF. Almost kind of the same against Charlotte, but obviously ended up taking the game away from Charlotte. And then it was a fast start where some of us even said that, this might be like a 3-and-out, and then that's it. But ended up taking 3 plays for the first drive to score the 7. So that was the first drive by USF, when they end up taking that one, a 48 touchdown run by Kelly Joyner. And then on the second drive was Naquan Wright, a 1-yard touchdown drive, which made it 14-0 with 10:32 to go in the first. And then the third drive resulted in a 48-yard field goal, but the extra point was no good. That was by John Cannon. That was good. Then the fourth drive came down to a 1-yard TD catch by Kelly Joyner, run by Kelly Joyner with 6:15 to go in the first. Most of the scoring came down in the first, and it was incredible once again to see what they were doing. The fifth drive was followed by a 6-yard TD run by Bryce Archie, who earlier in the game had gotten banged up a little bit, went out. Israel Carter came in, number 13. And I tell you what, even if Bryce would have gone down, and we hope not, because obviously we know that Byron Brown has already been out for the season. But if he would have gone down, and the way Israel Carter was playing, which he ended up playing a good amount of minutes in the third, when he decided to take Bryce Archie out for the rest of the game, was at that point it became literally a boat race. Who did an exceptional job. The sixth drive was followed. It was a punt when Archie was sacked. That was the one play where he was injured a little bit, but then again, Israel Carter comes in, steps up, and then Archie comes back in for before the half. At the end of the half, the seventh drive was a 58-yard touchdown run, a TD run by number 181 Keyshawn Singleton. That made it 35-0 with 11:41 to go before the half. The eighth drive for Tulsa ended up in an 11-yard TD reception. It was number 5, Cooper Ligas, and they made it 35-7 with 8:20 to go before the half. The eighth drive was Bryce Archie, who got injured, and that's when Israel Carter came in. Remember, I mentioned earlier that in that sixth drive, he got sacked, but he got a little banged up on that one. But then this is where he was taken out. Israel Carter comes in for that drive, and then they end up punting with 5:22 left in the second. But then Archie comes back in on the ninth drive, and then he finds Peyton Singletary, number 88, 16-yard pass with 2:11 left till the half. And then the 10th drive was a punt by USF with 1:09 in the second quarter. At that point, it was 42-7 USF. Now, in the second half, they didn't let up. The 11th drive was an interception by Tulsa. The 12th drive was followed by a 30-yard run for a touchdown by number 9, Tayron Keith, which made it 49-7 with 8:47 left in the third. 13th drive was a punt. 14th was with Nico Gramatica, who tried a 58-yard field goal attempt and came up, I want to say, at least 6 yards short. Now, it was mentioned that he had apparently during practice had nailed one at that same distance, but not so much during the game itself. 15th drive was by Michael Brown-Stevens, a 20-yard pass from Israel Carter when he ended up coming in at that point to Michael Brown-Stevens. And then on the 16th drive was a 59-yard pass to Jonathan Echols from Israel Carter. And the 17th drive ended up in a punt regardless to end up winning 63-30. I mean, it was just, this was a game that was meant to win by USF. They knew what was at stake. They knew all they had to do was win, and they were bowl bound. And for the folks that were there at the stands, even though, like I mentioned, it was about 71, 69 degrees-ish when the game had started, by as night fell and the sunset took place, and then obviously you have the moon that decides it wants to come out, rightfully so. I said it in jest. But it became chilly, but you would never have felt it because the way that crowd was, no one left. Everyone stayed to the very end. And it's only because they wanted to celebrate and see what USF had to do. Not only that, but to acknowledge the fans on Fan Appreciation Day, and also the seniors that were there, whether you were a senior on the team itself or the cheerleaders, as they pretty much acknowledge as many people as they possibly could. And also, let's not forget, not too long ago, people were calling for Coach Golish to be fired. Listen, and I'm one of those the same way. I pick a lot on Nick Sirianni, right? But Nick has now, someone made a believer out of me and thinking that maybe he finally has control of this team again, meaning the Eagles. But Coach was excited. I know the pressure's out there, but because I'm coming up quickly at the end of the scheduled show, but Coach was extremely happy with what went on the gridiron, and rightfully so, because again, now you are bowl bound. And that's exactly what we expected for USF. This is now his second year at USF on top of another bowl game eligibility. And we're hoping that with Coach that we can see yet another possibly bowl coming up. And from what I've gathered, it could be in Orlando, or it should be in Orlando. We just don't know, because there's another, if they win again versus Rice, then it all depends on who would end up playing. But nonetheless, that's what they want. They set themselves up for success. They got the win. It was a great crowd on hand. I got to say, at least some 4,000 plus were on hand, and no one left. No matter how much the temperature dropped, which obviously it wasn't that dramatic, but it got chillier as the game progressed. Again, my hat's off to Derek Sharp and Bridget Miranda for calling such an excellent game yesterday for women's basketball. But I'm trying to see, because I believe I did have some of Coach's presser, and I could be wrong, but nonetheless, no, I thought I had it, but I didn't have it. And if I play this here, there's some sound that you guys will hear. This is up in the media booth. I'll play this and you'll hear the excitement if it recorded about the USF Bulls being bowl bound. This is up from the media booth up on Saturday at Raymond James Stadium.
That's the end of the ballgame.
No, it didn't capture the audio, but at that point, over the inside of media booth, you can hear that the Bulls were bowl bound. So again, hats off to USF. Coach Golish, very proud of this team and how they played. Both sides of the ball were absolutely excellent on Saturday. Minimal penalties compared to what we had saw against Navy. Injuries happen. That it seems like it happens in every single game, but thankfully no one in particular, especially for Bryce Archie, because he just at one point looked like he may have been out for the game, but it came back in, and then Israel Carter ended up coming in and taking over for him, number 13. And Israel played such a great game. So thankfully for USF, they do have a solid backup. From what I understand too, Byron will be back come next season. So it'll be good to see when he comes back for the Bulls. But now we're all just waiting, like everyone else, until the end of the regular college season to figure out how the Bulls are going to be set up. But it's good to see that USF is bowl bound, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen and the coverage from that point as we will try to cover as many bowl games here locally between the Tampa and Orlando region as part of the Coastal Sports Network. Now, before I end the show, I mentioned this earlier, and Pete and I didn't get a chance to talk about this, but you guys know at times, listen, Deion Sanders has not been probably the most charismatic person, and I know at one point or another he was really on the media. Like, you can't ask this or you can't ask that. And listen, and I get it. It's his show. You know, he can do whatever he wants to. But after UCF weekend, UCF weekend, it was just a change in Deion. Almost like we went back to old Deion, but not all the way back to old Deion, meaning that he was frustrated. He had had enough and told his guys to adapt to the game, adapt to him, or you will find yourself basically otherwise. Yesterday, I really like what he had to tell his team towards the end of it. I also like, too, that he's gotten better as far as removing the sunglasses, because I understand he's trying to sell this brand. I get it. Trust me, when you're trying to sell a brand, but there comes a point in time, too, where you want to take them off. But I like what Coach had to say here because he brought up a really good point. Here's Deion Sanders after the loss on Saturday.
It's not one of you can say you played your best game. Nobody in here can say you gave the maximum effort. You gave it all you could. It's nobody. And you see the result. See, the problem is you got intoxicated with success. And success is intoxicating. You start believing what they're saying. You start listening more to what they're saying. You bought into all that foolishness that you were this. And you went out there and we got home. Coaches, players, everyone, we went out there and got humbled. But it is what it is. Where you go from here? Where you go from here? Like, where do you go from here? That's the critical thing. What do you do with this moment? What do you glean from this moment? What do you learn from this moment? Where do we go from here? Because this moment just ain't about football. This is about life. And this is a tremendous life lesson. Let's learn from it. Let's learn from it and grow from it. The question is, guys, I'm going to ask you one last time. Where do you go from here? God bless.
I absolutely love what he had to say there. Where do we go from here? And that's anywhere. That's at your job. That's no matter what you do. That's anywhere. Those were excellent words by Deion Sanders. And rightfully so, because it's true. You call out your team when they're good. You call out the team when they're bad. But if you and that's anybody, if you let success get to your head, and especially when it comes to sports, you can easily be knocked down, back down to earth. Easily. Now, I'm not saying that about the Commanders, because the Commanders, again, they're on a three-game slide, and that's neither here nor there, for that matter, for all intents and purposes. That's neither here nor there, but you do get humbled, no matter which way you look at it. And he brought up a great point, that they were humbled. And so now we'll see. We're also waiting to see what's going to happen. Now, Billy Napier is going to be retained with the Gators, so that's one less job that Deion had to think about, but it doesn't mean that the Seminoles position doesn't become open. And when he had mentioned that if one of those two came open, he may have thought about a possibility of coming over there. Now, I don't think I'm as sold anymore as much as Shedeur. And by the way, that was a cheap hit that was done on Shedeur. And, again, I never said I don't like the kid. That's Deion's son. And, I know there's times you showboat the whole 9 yards, but again, you heard Coach mention there about them coming back down to earth. But I don't believe that you're going to get Shedeur and Deion as a 1-2 package combo. I think Deion will look out for the best interest for his son and figure out where he would like for him to go in the NFL. But maybe Deion stays put at CU. Maybe. We shall see. It could be something otherwise, but I think he's going to stay put. Just in my value opinion. But again, what do I know? All right. With that being said, thank you all once again for tuning in. Pardon me. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me get a little swig of water here so I don't get choked up. Thank you for tuning in. Oh boy, something tickled the throat there. And today, as you guys always do, thank you for the folks who listen around the world, especially our men and women of our great nation who continue to serve this country. Don't forget, it is Thanksgiving week, and be thankful for what you have and be grateful for what you have. Just as I mentioned to Mr. Banks, Micah Banks, about allowing us to cover USF football. Again, we'll be covering women's basketball, men's basketball, and then lacrosse here coming up in the springtime in February, winterish coming into spring. But be thankful for what you have, because it can easily be taken away. Appreciate the people who look out for you, and you do the same in return. But especially for our men and women who go out there every single day to protect and serve our community, to protect and serve our nation, and more importantly, so we can all do what we love to do every single day. So with that being said, don't forget to start off your day with the Pete Shepard Show from 7 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday of this week will be a condensed week because of Thanksgiving. So we were on today, then tomorrow and Wednesday. For myself, it'll be today, and then Wednesday will be the final show for the week, as we'll be taking our turkey break. That is from 10 to 12. The Drive with Q from 5 to 6 p.m. Bees World from 6 to 7. And then Lloyd Vance here today. And then on Wednesday, it'll be Talking Hoops on Wednesday night. Thank you to all our sponsors. Thank you to Tampa Joe's, and thank you to you, those who listen and watch faithfully. We do appreciate your patronage, and we appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to download the app, and please visit sr1029thegame.com so you can keep up with not only the content here on the network, but also with USF Athletics. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.